Thank you. Karin Spottiswoode is up next, and I've got a bit of a biased role in introducing her. Yeah, I met her quite a few years ago, and we have been members of the Mountain Club for an awful long time. Started out at Wits, and we've done all sorts of exploits, including for my 70th, 7 years ago, going up Kilimanjaro. But anyways, Karin still has her love for the Magaliesberg, but has been focusing on the Kloofendal Nature Reserve over the last quite a while. And so you'll be seeing a culmination of many years of understanding these things and what to do about them. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thank you for coming tonight. So my name is Karin Spottiswoode. I'm a field guide. I'm actually originally an occupational therapist, but that's for the last 20 years I've been field guiding in this reserve in Kloofendal. And I've become very concerned about the alien invasive plants, not just in Kloofendal, but in Joburg. It's bad. So Kloofendal is in Johannesburg, then it's on the west side, and it's so you can see the N1, you can see Christian de Wet, and it's 118 hectares, and we've been involved there a lot. So 22 years ago, the Friends of Kloofendal started, and the reserve was not utilized at all. It was people were scared going there, it was lonely, and I'm one of the founder members, and I introduced guided nature walks, because I'd just done my field guiding for GASA level 1, qualification, and I knew quite a lot of people who had different skills, nature skills, and so I introduced a program then on guided walks in the reserve. So you can see, let's see, this is working. No, sorry, I'm doing the wrong thing. You can see there's a gold mine there, the first gold mine on the Witwatersrand. So we took people into the mine and did geology with them. We've got insects. We did a lot of insects, water insects and only insects. We did a bit of gold panning. We did reptile walks. We had all different, this is part of the gold mine. Sorry, wrong one. Going forward. We're doing this right. Benny, I'm doing something wrong here. What am I doing wrong? Forward arrow? Yeah? Sorry, Benny. This arrow is forward, isn't it? It's forward, should go. I can use the arrow, this is fine. Now the reserve has got an amphitheatre area where people used to be concerts there. So we used the amphitheatre area then we didn't have any building to use for our educational activities there. So we used the stage, we used that there's a geology walk, I think I've got the wrong one. Here we are. We've got a geology, that's the wrong one, sorry. A geology presentation on the stage. We have the executive LAPA. We had a bat evening there. We've water divining. We had evening walks, frog evenings. And you find, besides frogs, you find all sorts of things in the water, crabs and water snakes and things. So we had a lot of education activities, right? We also have a school program during the week. So the weekend, we've got guided walks for anybody of family groups or anybody interested in birding or geology or plants or whatever. But we also have a school program where we work with kiddies for 2 hours, a nature adventure walk with them. I've always been very interested in plants, and I know quite a lot about the indigenous plants, but it was quite a concern of all these alien invasive plants in the reserve. We had school groups that would come and help us with taking plants out. Yes, yes, no, we have all sorts of things. I'm not sure what plants they are. I think it might be mothcatcher lying there. I'm not sure what they worked on there, but yeah. But it's very nice how the community actually does want to actually help. And then we had our own little Friends of Kloofendal group. We had Jürgen on the with as a whole. I was going to point some things there. So Jürgen on the left. Sorry, wrong thing. Jürgen there with a whole pile of mothcatchers. Charlie had a chainsaw and he worked on eucalypts. He also introduced herbicide. He tried. Shirley was also very active in putting out plants. There's a whole infestation of black wattle there. There's Craig and Steve in the background. There's Doreen. So these are the oldies that I forget his name, forgotten. Steve and Craig then with black wattle. So you see a whole infestation there. We did a lot of work before city parks became involved. They weren't really involved in the alien invasive plants control. But then there was this lady, Colleen van Rooyen, and she was a student in environmental management. And she wanted to do a project in Kloofendal. She divided the reserve into 100 by 100 hectares, quadrats they're called, squares. And each square had a number and a letter, and that would show you where the plants were growing. So that picture then is Kloofendal. And she worked on 5 different alien invasive plant species: black wattles, blackwoods, Jerusalem cherries, cestrum parkii, and cotoneaster. And she counted them. So each one, the colors that you see then, you have those are the blackwoods, and then you've got the bright green, those were the black wattles, and then you've got the orange was the cestrum, and then you've got the cotoneaster there. No, sorry, that's the Jerusalem cherries, and then the cotoneaster is the orangey. That's the reserve. So she counted those plants, and it was quite horrendous. It was a lot. And she showed this to the manager, and this was in November 2020. She showed this to the manager of the reserve, and he was horrified. So he said, okay, he's going to get city parks involved in this, to get rid of these plants. Because, the reserve is surrounded by suburbia, so there are a lot of alien plants that move in from people's gardens, blackwoods and all sorts of things. So we started training then, with Philip's encouragement, training some of the JCPZ staff on identification of these plants. And then we have got some of the tools that we use. It's mostly mechanical. I don't know if you know a tree popper. Please, who knows a tree popper? Who knows a tree popper? Okay, Tam, yes. Okay, some of you don't. Okay, I'm going to show you quickly what a tree popper does. It's magic. It's really amazing. It's really, really fun to use it. This is a tree popper, okay? Now this is a medium size. So what you do, you have a young plant. You can't, the big adult plants, the big black wattles and the blackwoods, those you have to cut or you have to ring bark. But this one then, I'm going to put the mic down. And it's bad for the environment. But this one, if it pulls out the plant is dead, and that's what you want, to give indication of the plant. So this is great. When you put out this and something comes out, when you grab the root, you pull that out and you pull it out. So this is the main tool you use. I think it's amazing. We've got, initially we put 6 city parks for 2 to 8, and city parks are so impressed, because it's only 5. So they come from Somerset West, and they're very strong. They don't make anything. We have workers who work, lots of workers, and none of them are broken. They are very strong. So I'll just advertise the tree poppers for mechanical removal. It doesn't work with Crofton, but Crofton is a herb, and it's also very wet. You can't work in the wetness with a tree popper. So what we did then, okay, so Colleen introduced this number of counting. So we had, we've got then the works we showed her these various other tools as well. And what we did then, we got them to to count each plant they pull out. Okay, so this is now, these are Jerusalem cherries. So you see the roots there, the rootstock. So they count, these are piles, they made piles of these. You put them together with red and white tape, and each pile has a number, and then you count like that. So what in the records what mainly the workers actually, city parks didn't do much of the counting, but the workers then, they had an exercise book. They put the date, they put the species, so that would be S for solanum, I guess, buckwheat, that would be cestrum, that would be forget-me-nots, this is pom-pom, and they would put in what quadrant they worked, the different quadrats, and then the number of the pile. So this is solanum. I think this, I'm not sure which solanum it is, but anyway, this is, so that pile number 1 would have had 10 plants in it. Pile number 2 had 10 plants in it, so etc. That would be just purely for the solanum. And then the buckwheat would have again pile number 1, pile number 2, then the cestrum, and then the forget-me-not, and then the pom-poms. They had then the piles, and then that would be put together. That would be put together then onto a spreadsheet, and then it would be data processed by mainly Steve actually, but yeah. So that was city parks, but then most of the work gets done by the workers. So city parks then, because they were really inspired by Colleen's counting of the plant, the baddies. There are only 5 species. We've got a lot more species. We've got about 54 species in Kloofendal of alien invasive plants. So they gave us groups. Us being mainly myself, Steve, and a few others. To manage these groups of workers. So there would be the EPWP, Extended Public Works Program workers, and the co-op workers, and they would have a contract of a week, 2 weeks, a month, and with luck 3 months, and then they would be out of a job again. So what we did with them, we divided them into, if it had a biggest group, we divided them into groups of 5, and we would give them, find a leader. And then the leader would have to do the recording of the plants pulled out that day. And then he or she would have to be in charge of the tools. So the tools, city parks, they start a bit later than we do. The workers had to be there at 7 o'clock, and city park starts about 8:15. So we would actually have our own tools in. We have an education center that we occupy, and we have actually a toilet area that we use as a storeroom for the tools that we have. And they would have access to that storeroom to get the tools. The leader would keep a record of who has what tool, and make sure that in the afternoon the tools would be put back, would all be accounted for. So you can see that they were really, really motivated, because we explained to them why they were pulling out these plants, and they learned a lot while working with the plants. And the ones who worked with us 3 months, we actually gave them certificates at the end. We tested them, and then in order that they could get maybe a job for a garden service, or showing their knowledge of the alien plants they'd worked with. There would have been about 20 or 22 plants they would have worked with. Now, there was then a need for a manual. That's when I started my book. That's taken me 9 years to do. Just how to identify the plants, what harm they actually do. Why are you putting out these plants? You know, when you do a job, you like to actually know what you're doing, why you're doing it. How to distinguish them from similar non-harmful plants, so you don't pull out the wrong ones. How to eradicate them, the different ways of doing it. That's what my book is all about. So my book is based on practical experience, mostly from Kloofendal, and also some in the Magaliesberg. And then record keeping. It's very important that you have a record of the work that you do, because that motivates you. And it also gives your employer an indication of work done. Now I have to give acknowledgements to the various people who allowed us to do the work in Kloofendal. Philip Mkombo is the manager. I was hoping he would be here tonight. He's actually a new Mountain Club member. Actually, we took him to Magaliesberg about 3 weeks ago, and he was so impressed that he became a member about a week later. So you might see him as a green scorpion. He's useful that way too. So he's been very supportive of us once he got to know us. Then we have, let me see, Karin Spottiswoode is our son. He helped me with formatting this book, because I haven't written a book before, and I'm Formatting, I did it in PowerPoint. Apparently you don't write books in PowerPoint. So anyway, he really helped me a lot setting it out. Then there's Percy Otokwa. He was also one of the junior managers who worked with us a lot. He got because a lot of the workers don't speak English, so he was actually very helpful in helping us communicate with the workers. And then Steve, of course, I'm in the bush with him a lot. And then there is Jonathan Leeming. You might know him from Scorpions. He's been very supportive, helping me also with the book, giving me advice on how to publish a book. He's published quite a few books. And then there's Helene. Helene is our slave driver. She's there every Monday and Wednesday. She's our alien invasive plant slave driver. She's extremely dedicated, and she's also working in Little Falls as well. And then you will know the various people who's really knowledgeable about invasive plants. Leslie Henderson. She has been, of course, I used her books a lot. But she's been my mentor. She's been, because I sent her a lot of questions and things I wasn't sure of, and she has been helping me with that everything in my book is correct. And then Clive Bromilo, because Leslie then works with the plants that are declared alien invasive plants in South Africa. Clive Bromilo also his book is also about the non-declared plants that are problematic, and there are a lot of those too. And then also how to deal with them, and he uses herbicides a lot. I know nothing about herbicides. Okay, we do use one particular herbicide, but so if anybody needs to know about herbicides for particular plants, he's the one that I'm recommending in my book. And then there is the national list of declared invasive plants that is then described in www.invasive.org. And Kay Montgomery, then she is in this non-government organization, she is managing it, I think, and she's given me a lot of encouragement and also supported me on her website. And then, of course, you know, Hildegard and Otti. You know Otti, I mean, she's an extremely dedicated weed puller and mountaineer. So anyway, I've also used their book, and they've given me support with their knowledge and their book that they published on the Magaliesberg. Now, I think before you start working with invasive plants, as I mentioned earlier, you need to know why you're doing it. Why? What is the problem with invasive alien plants? So, first of all, it's declared by law. You've got to take out the declared ones. And then you probably all know the laws, the category 1A, 1B, category 2 and 3. I don't know if you know it. But anyway, so category 1 are the real baddies, very invasive. They need to come out. They need to be eradicated. No question about it. Category 1B is so we have one category 1A in Kloofendal. That's the yellow flag that I'm showing you. That's the yellow flag, that one. Am I pressing this thing right? Where is it? Must aim in the middle first, okay? Doesn't matter. It's the one with the yellow flowers. That's the very invasive in water. And then the category 1B is also eradicate, take out, not as bad as the category 1A, but you need to take it out. If you are selling your property, or you have to take out your category 1B plants before you're allowed to sell it, or the person who buys it from you can demand you take it out, or they can take it out at your costs. Pampas grass, I'm pretty sure you all know it. It occurs in Magaliesberg, it occurs in Joburg. It's a problem. Category 2, you need to have a permit from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. The picture here that I've got is black wattle. Black wattle, if it can be farmed. Now, what am I doing wrong here? Hi. Okay, it's the top one. Ah, well done. Thanks, Benny. So the black wattle is declared invasive, yes, and it is very invasive. But it can be farmed. It can be used for making charcoal. It can be used for firewood. So it can be used. It can be farmed. But then the person who has got the permit, when you got the permit, you have to, by law, keep it in the designated area. If it's out of that area, it has to be removed. And then category 3, such as the callistemon, is a plant that that if you have it in your property, you can stay there. It should not be sold by the nurseries, but you can keep it in your property as long as if you can control it. If it's in a wet area, if it's in a riparian area, then it goes back to category 1B. It has to be taken out, it has to be removed. So that is the NEMBA regulations. So one of the reasons why the alien plants should be taken out. But then there are a whole lot of other reasons why these plants are a problem. They take over our own vegetation, our own plants, okay? They have also clever techniques of doing it. They can be suckering. Suckering is basically like this picture, this one on the left is black wood. It has a property of suckering. So the roots then move away from the mother plant, and it grows new plants all around it. And if you let it be, it will form a whole forest. And that's what you have all over Joburg. You've got forests of these declared alien invasive plants. Now you have another thing. If you cut down a tree, if you cut down a blackwood, and you don't poison it, or you don't strip the bark all the way around, then you get coppicing, which is even worse than before. It becomes like a huge growth that becomes a bush and becomes much bigger, becomes big and a lot of suckering, and you get the problems worse than before. Also, another technique that these alien plants use is a lot of seeds. This is black wattle, lots of seeds. Also, this is your Spanish reed, your Arundodonax, has a lot of rhizomes. Those are underground stems that also sprout up new plants all over the place. You can see Arundodonax, it's exceedingly dense because of these rhizomes. It's underground, and Storons, your kikuyu grass, has got stems then that are above the ground that also sprout new roots, new plants the whole time. Then also our fauna, our insects, they don't utilize these alien plants. So there are few competitors to keep the population of these plants down. And then also these alien invasive plants are very successful pioneers. So if there are power lines, water pipes, sewage pipes, buildings, whatever, if the ground is disturbed, then these pioneers, these alien invasive plants are very happy. They move in, and they thrive in disturbed ground. And then what Michael mentioned just now, what Crofton wheat does, is something called allelopathy. I can't really pronounce it properly, but basically it's chemicals produced by the roots that actually kill plants around it. It's a very good, nice thing for the black wattle itself, or the Crofton, that it eliminates plants competing for compost and water and that. So that's various plants. Alien invasive plants have this technique of, with black wattles you can have a riverbed totally dried up with just black wattles growing there, totally destroying, poisoning the soil and poisoning the water around it where it grows. And then, of course, you have these massive trees, because a lot of these alien invasive plants become huge, such as your blackwoods, your pine trees, your eucalypts. They consume a huge amount of water. Again, affecting the surrounding plants, indigenous plants, and also our water. We are scarce of water. So these plants, in the Cape, then, as you know, a few years ago there was the water shortage, and they are actually taking out invasive. I think it's pine trees they're taking out, or eucalypts, to reduce the water consumption of these big plants. Now, how do we remove these plants? We use these brilliant tree poppers. You've got the large one, you've got the medium ones, and the small ones, and they all have their function. And the idea is to take out the roots. Okay. We also use a pick. Picks are used as well for plants like cestrum, where we have a lot of rhizomes, a lot of rhizomes mostly. All these plants are linked together to actually break them up. And for lantana, we also use picks. And then you've got these little tools that are extremely useful. And this very strong little hand trowel for the smaller plants. We have a foldable hand saw, and we have secateurs, very useful. And then we use a machete or a panga to strip, because that, of course, that kills the circulation of the plants, so the plants die when you do a good job and take away the bark around it. For things like lantana or pyracantha or these thorny plants, we use the leather welding gloves that really protects your hands. Then we use strong plastic bags for plants like Jerusalem cherry, so we actually take out the fruit. Because the fruit, if you don't take it out, it's extremely successful in growing new plants. And then we do use kaput. It's one of the only herbicide that we use. And we're experimenting with it, right? We like that one rather than the spray because it doesn't kill the plants around it because you just paint it on. And yeah, and then so we have been working with it. So as I said, all the work that we do is very experimental. See what works and what doesn't work. And that's what the book is all about. Okay, so it's in the field. Hey? No lectures and things like that. We go out in the field and we work with the workers or the city parks or with the community, whoever can work with us. And we physically work on the various plants and take them out manually if we can as much as possible. This is yellow bells. Yellow bells is really difficult. We did not succeed there. So we haven't reached the right. What? No, we won't stop. No, we won't stop. Don't worry. Then blackwoods, we are pulling out lots of blackwoods. That's great. The tree popper is brilliant there. And the workers do get very excited about working with these tree poppers. The top of my book, I'll just show you. It's actually, I'll show you just now. But the front page of my book is actually a picture of 3 workers that pulled out a huge, massive lantana, and they were so thrilled with it that they actually sent me, WhatsApp me the picture of what they pulled out, what they managed to pull out. So it's very good to stimulate your workers. Yeah, and then of course stripping, black wattle, and then the pom-poms, which you all really love. We have a lot of pom-poms. We would have a lot of pom-poms if it wasn't that we are working with them. Every year we can follow up. What we do with them, we take the heads off, and then we put it in a bag. We do not burn them, because when seeds dry out, hot air goes up, and the seeds go up, and they will spread all over, and you have a bigger problem than when you started. And unfortunately, City Parks has used that technique of burning pom-pom seeds, and we've been very upset with them. And I just hope they don't do it again. And then we take out, as you have been doing, I'm sure, that we take out the plants. Make sure we take out the what you call the corm or the crown. It's like the base where the roots come from. You must take that out. If you don't take that out, the roots will regrow. So that's the best way of doing it. I believe there's a poison you can use for it, but luckily we haven't needed that. But certainly we need to take the pom-pom flowers off. Each sweet little daisy flower there has got so many seeds. And it takes over the grassland in a big way. I always tell people that, you know what, when they say, what's alien plants and indigenous, what is it important? It's food. Our grassland is food. It's what our cows eat, what our sheep eat. It's meat, that's what we all eat, or milk we drink, or cheese we eat. And also, so it's all related. So it's not just that the alien plants are, they take over our own plants. We actually need our own plants. Then how do we record the work done? So what Karin started then in 2020 has been taken over for 2 years now by a WhatsApp on our phone. It's really, very, very nice. It's called GPS Essentials. And that is basically record each plant you take out. So what we do, when we have a group of workers, most of them some of them have got a smartphone. So then we get them to download the GPS Essentials app, and they can actually record. They need to record then the species removed, and also work still to be done. So work still to be done is a minus. So you say buckwheat, you see 10 buckwheats minus the big ones still need to be done. That's a minus 10 for the buckwheats. And if you've taken out 10, then it's just 10. So you need the species, where you've worked. It gives you exactly the position in space. It's a GPS coordinates. And then how many you've pulled out of that particular species, and if they're small, medium, or big, because obviously if you're dealing with a big one, you need a chainsaw. If you're dealing with a little one, you might use the hand tool. I must say, I had a bit of an argument initially when City Park started giving us workers. The manager wanted us to take out just the big ones. I said, Philip, the little ones will become big ones. In a few years' time, the little ones are big, and then you have they've got a big problem putting those out. So he has now totally agreed that we also need to take out the little ones as well. And then when what date and time. So when you work with the workers, then they have exactly the date, time and how much, and so you have all those records, and they can then get sent or exported by WhatsApp or email to the person doing the data processing. At the moment, the only person doing the data processing is Steve, who needs to train some other people doing it if it's going to be used. Because the idea of my book is to actually extend it to the city of Joburg, that they can record, they can work, they can do something about all the problem plants we have all over Joburg, and they are in a big way. And then step 3 is the management of follow-up. Of course, when you work on an area, obviously plants are going to come out again. You need to follow up and also plan. If you see areas where other plants are coming up that need to be taken out, you need to plan. So it's a management plan. Now, this is just an example of, you have a lot of different ways of showing your work done, but I asked Steve to do some, to show you a map. So this is a map of Kloofendal. Kloofendal, this is the amphitheater area in the middle, for those of you who haven't been there. Now the purple is 2024, that's this year. Now this is just purely on buckwheat. So the buckwheats then, you can see the bigger the looks like a balloon, the bigger the balloon is, the higher the density of plants pulled out in that area. Now, these are all plants that have been pulled out, okay? So when it's a small one, it's a lower density, and a higher one is a higher density. So the big ones are for more than 100 plants removed. So we work in very big numbers. We don't work in 10s and 20s. We work in thousands that we actually have removed, and we've got the stats. Then this is 2023. There's the blue ones, and then with COVID, the yellow ones then are a lot less. But certainly in this year you can see we've done a lot, and that's just buckwheat. Hey? We're working on a lot more than buckwheat. Steve, how many are we working on at the moment? 43 different. 86,000 that we've done this year. All the time. Because there's a lot that we do every year. Okay, so my book then is about the identification. So I've got each page then has, I'm going to go into details on how each page works, but you can see, I'm just going to the next subject. So this is what the page looks like. So each plant has got 1 or 2 or 3 pages on identification. So this one then, okay, so you have the Solanum mauritianum, that's your Latin, your genus and species. It is declared, so it's got a number, so 338 is the number that's declared. The category is on the right, so it's 1B, so it's a baddie. It is the family Solanaceae, and then the common plants, the common name plant, buckwheat or luisboom, and it's a tree. Then, where it comes from, South America, that's on each page, where it comes from. Then you have a color photograph of each plant, okay, including, where possible, the distinguishing features such as the leaves, flowers, fruit, if applicable, description of smell and touch. Now you all know buckwheat, I'm sure. It's a horrible plant. It has big leaves that smells very bad. I often say that the alien invasive plants smell bad. Well, certainly the buckwheat does. It's got hairs that people are allergic to. And yeah, so we have one of our Kloofendal workers was extremely allergic to buckwheat. Then it has flowers, and when it flowers, and then it's got the fruit, and a bit of a description. And then if it's not my own photograph, a lot of these pictures are not my photographs, so I've got a reference number of where the picture comes from. I was horrified when Leslie Hansen told me that if it's not my own picture, I can't just say wiki at the bottom as a reference. I mean, credit. I've actually got to find out who the photographer is and get permission. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so you can see here. So the reference is like number 3. So I've got a list of 98 references at the back of the book. Number 3 is Henderson. That's Leslie. Then her invasive book. And number 9 is actually also is a website from K. Montgomery. Then if the plant has got something dangerous, if it's poisonous or allergic reaction such as buckwheat, then it's in red. Okay, just to warn the workers as well that these are, you have to be careful. This book is aimed at the workers, so it's not a complicated book to use. And then also how to distinguish it from similar looking indigenous non-invasive plants, so that they don't start putting out the wrong one. So in this case, it would be your Fungarian fasta, your wild medlar, They look very similar to your buckwheat, but they don't stink, and they've got various other things that are not the same. And then also, generally where the plant is found, buckwheat is found all over the place in disturbed ground. And then what we do about it, what we do about how we take the plant out. So bag the fruit. It's pretty important to bag the fruit if you can, otherwise your plant is going to, the seeds are going to propagate a lot. Then I've also done, the book is divided into categories of different, I've color-coded them. So your grasses are together, then the trees are yellow, shrubs, herbs. Difference between shrubs and herbs. Shrubs have got a woody component. Your trees are single-stemmed, shrubs multi-stemmed, woody component. Herbs are the soft ones, such as your crofton and the lots of them that are more difficult to pull out. They don't. The tree popper doesn't work on them. Flat-growing herbs. You've got creepers, you've got your succulents, and waterweeds. Okay, and within each category, the plants are arranged according to the alphabetically according to the genus. Yeah, and then at the back there's a glossary just in case there are some terminology. So I'd really try to keep it very simple. As I said, it's meant for everybody, not for scientists and just ordinary people like myself. So the glossary then explains some of the terminology used. I've got 6 pages of references, and then the index is great. The index has got the common names and it's got the Latin names. And it's ring bound, so it's easy to use. It's meant to be used in the field. It's not it's meant to be so it's ring bound. The pages are strong, so it's easy to use in the field. That's what it's meant to be. And then I've just got a few examples of the various plants. Your lantana, your solanum, your Mexican poppy, I'm sure you know it. Crofton, I don't even have to mention. And then I just want to say that we do get support from the community as well. So it's our little friends at Kloofendal group. So basically, the Invasive Alien project we have in Kloofendal has become quite a big project. You have the school groups, we have the weekend guided walks, but weeding is another project that we are really trying to expand. And you can see the community does help. I must just point out, this is quite fun. The ones in red, these were here on the 18th of September, and they are a company, AIVIA. They're a company that wants to do community service, and they thoroughly enjoyed working on the invasive plants with us. In fact, they didn't want to stop, and they'll be back next year. So it's really nice to have the community helping. And then the loyal little friends group that runs Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 in the summertime till about 9. It's just a few of us. Eh? And city parks, of course, they'll give us community workers if they have money, and they don't have money at the moment. So let's just introduce you Helene, our slave driver I mentioned earlier. Andre is one of them, and then Ella and John and Michelle. And this is one of, this also, there are students, grade 11 students that do community service with us. This is Nathan, he worked with us for 20 hours. Rico, you can see he's very proud, he pulled out a lantana root here. And that's Niall, he unfortunately had to go back to England, his project was finished, but he was a huge asset. He was the one allergic to buckwheat. And he will be on live stream. Yes. Yeah, Tam knows him. He also has helped in Magaliesberg as well. And then my aim for the book is to create awareness for the need of control of these plants by helping people to identify the plants, that they are a problem, and also learn how to record the work done. And then draw up a management plan for present and future work to be done, including the necessary follow-up and checking how effective the ARP removal has been, and a rehabilitation plan. And assist in ARP management plans for Joburg, okay? That's really, really, and Magaliesberg, but Joburg is in a big need of work being done. Because apparently we found out that the city of Joburg, City Parks then is supposed to be putting out these plants. They have a conservation department which is small compared to the horticulture department. The horticulture doesn't deal with alien invasive plants. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? They don't. And the conservation department has got too much on. They don't have staff to manage any invasive plants. So it's a problem. And then with the aid of knowledge and experience gained in training, create jobs in ARP control in Gauteng and Northwest Province. That's what we hope. So we are in negotiation with city parks at the moment, and I'm really pleased to hear from Tam that she's involved in a project in the Yukska River where they're putting out alien invasive plants. So my book is meant for assisting in getting, to deal with these invasive plants. And thank you for coming. And my book is available from me, if you like, after the presentation. And thank you for coming. Any questions?
Yeah, if you go on a hike and you expect to find invasive plants, what should you take along with you so you can pull them out and get rid of stuff?
Thank you for that question. I like it. We normally have a rucksack and we carry our weeding tool. That's the little fork, the blue one. That's very good for pulling out anything. And we also have secateurs if you like lantana, if your lantanas. We went up Boulder Kloof the other day, was it? Or where was it? No, where was it? That was another place, Dome. Coming from the south, there was stacks of lantana in the way, and secateurs, very useful. Secateurs and a saw, a foldable saw. Those are the three. And a bag for pom-poms, the pom-pom seeds. So you need 4 things. Weeding fork, a bag for the pom-poms or other seeds, your secateurs, and your what's the other thing I mentioned? The foldable saw, yeah. We don't carry poison with us, but those are very useful. And I must tell you something very bad. Steve and I my car was burglared yesterday while we were playing pickleball, and we had our rucksacks, our weeding rucksacks with us, and our tools. Oh, the machetes also. Steve carries a machete normally. But yeah, they stole our rucksacks with our tools in it. So we were pretty upset about that.
So if I find a bugweed, then I suppose I must have some gloves and maybe a face mask.
Gloves would be good. No, we tend not to use a face mask there, but if you are allergic, yes. Gloves are good. Buckwheat, really, if you want to, Steve Spotty, don't knock over my wine glass with your leg. Buckwheat, the hand, if it's small, if it's big, you can actually, buckwheat peels very well. You can actually ring bark it very nicely. But knee high, you go all the way around, and then you strip the bark. It comes off very nicely. So if the buckwheat is young, then you can do that. Obviously, it's a big thing. You need to, if you're going to cut ring bark, if you're not going to take the bark off, poisoning, you can't take poison with you. That's too much of a mission. And poison also doesn't always work, So, yeah.
Because I once encountered a bugweed, I think it was a huge thing in an indigenous forest in KZN.
Yes.
And I wondered what I could do with something like that. It must have been about 4 meters tall because it was growing in a forest.
You often, actually, we found in the pine forests, we do orienteering, a sport, and in pine forests, that's allowed. That's category 2. Pines, you can have it if it's used for, for furniture or for whatever they use it for. But we found buckwheat. You often find buckwheat in pine forests, and of course the buckwheat is not really allowed. It's not part of the permit that the foresters get. Any other questions? Yeah, Dan.
I just find it so interesting. It's more of a comment. 110, did you say, hectares? The Kloofendal?
118 hectares in Kloofendal.
Hectares. And I just think that when I saw the image of 2020, 20
yes,
years,
2024, the one
just
I showed.
The amount of days that you worked and the amount of work that went into that small little hectareage. And Joburg has so many more. All the rivers are all open public space.
Yes, and donuts, poplars.
Everything. It is.
Cannas are a huge problem. Lantanas.
And they get given EPWP who are not trained.
Who are not trained and who need to be trained. So I'd love to be involved actually in training the trainers, and also assessing the work done that the trainers do. We were a bit concerned in basically there is a training course on alien invasive plants that is presented by City Parks. It only does not deal with mechanical, okay? It only deals, and mechanical is the main thing that my book is about. It deals with herbicides. And it deals with biocontrol. I don't know how much biocontrol they use. I think minimal, if any. But there's certainly what we're worried about. We have seen in Kloofendal, I think, where the training has happened. We were very concerned that the poison, the herbicide application that many been sprayed, has not been effective. The plants are not dead after they've applied the herbicide. I haven't, after a while. And also, a lot of little baby plants around it. Now, if you're going to work with, say, what was it? With the pearl acacia we worked on. It was black wattle. We worked with black wattle. Now, if you're going to show students how to deal with black wattle, you don't leave all the babies around. You actually take them out. If you can take them out manually, but they don't do manual. And then the spraying was not successful. We found we were quite concerned about that.
Yes, so I think this book's going to be very useful.
I hope so. I hope they will use it. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's my biggest comment. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. 9 years worth of...
9 years. The last 5 have been the hardest. The last 5 months have been the hardest.
Yes, can imagine. Any other questions? I think we're not okay.
Yeah, thank you
for
coming.
you, Karin. So I've got my favorite gift to give to anybody, which is honey from the Melville Corpies.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you.
So it's come from wild grassland and little forbs that grow in the grassland, and from a lovely lady who lives in... Thank you so much.
From Wendy?
No, she actually is... I want to bring her to do a talk. She does solitary bees, but she also has a couple of normal honey hives.
Thanks so much. And chocolates, that's right.
Yes.
I really like chocolates. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody.